Sexqkeltkemc, Skachin, Quout, Kinbeskut, Squilek, Splatsin,
sexqkeltkemc, people of the headwaters.
Our rights begin from the first raindrop that comes and touches the earth, up in the mountains. That's where our Aboriginal rights begin with. So anything that comes down into that is nourished by that water, that is part of our family. We have to take care of that family.
Since time immemorial, First Nation people have had the responsibility of being caretakers of the land. This changed when the settlers came and our lands were no longer our lands. In 1910, the chiefs of the Shuswap, Okanagan, and Thompson wanted their concerns addressed. They had ethnographer James A. Tate write a memorial to Sir Wilfrid Laurier, who was then the Prime Minister of Canada.
The whites made a government in Victoria. Perhaps the Queen made it. Their chiefs dwelt there. At this time, they did not deny the Indian tribes owned the whole country and everything in it. They told us we did. We Indians were hopeful. We trusted the whites and waited patiently for their chiefs to declare their intentions towards us and our lands. They told us to have no fear. The Queen's laws would prevail in this country, and everything would be well for the Indians here. What have we received for our good faith?
The way our chiefs in 1910 spoke about it is that, you outsiders came into our land as uninvited guests. Though you may be uninvited guests, we will put out a hand of friendship to you and try to work together with you. They also made an offer to government. They say, we'll give you half of our land and its resources, we keep half for ourselves, and we'll help each other to be great and good. And that's the vision that I've always been trying to work towards.
Gradually, as the whites of this country became more and more powerful, and we less and less powerful, they little by little changed their policies towards us and commenced to put restrictions on us.
Because they put us on these little reservations, like concentration camps, and created these ghettos of despair. So if you look at all that was going on and how they really destroyed, and through genocide, I call it legislative genocide, through their laws, destroyed who we are as a people. Our spirit, through our children, through the residential schools, the laws that forbid us to talk about the land so we could actually talk about things, laws that forbid us to sing and dance and have artifacts that were spiritual to us, all those kinds of things. That's why it's taken so long. The government has denied and did everything in its power to eradicate us. That was the plan, to liquidate what they called the Canadian Indian problem.
They treat us as subjects without any agreement to that effect, and force their laws on us without our consent and irrespective of whether they are good for us or not. They say they have authority over us. They have broken down our old laws and customs, no matter how good, by which we regulated ourselves.
Our ancient laws, kinship, spirituality, and ties to the land were what made us strong. We never forgot that. Today, we are reaffirming our laws through the Lakes Division Agreement. On June 30th, 2009, the communities and chiefs of the Adams Lake, Nisconlith, and Splatsin set out on a historic canoe trip to Sicamous, where they would be signing the sexqkeltkemc Lakes Division Agreement and officially launching their position as the rightful caretakers of their traditional territories.
We're re-engaging in that whole process of reaffirming our alliances with the Lakes Division bands. And you could say Secwepemc Arrow Lakes Division, which is Nisconlith, Adams Lake, Little Shuswap, Splatsin, and Shuswap Band. more recently in the Invermere area. And the agreement really is about the reaffirmation of our kinship ties, our connection and ties to the land, the language, and the people.
The minds of our people have to be opened up to the realities of that we're not just in reserves, that our relationship is with a whole nation as a whole. And it's about those relationships and renewing those relationships, or, you know, the cousins, their aunties, their uncles, you know, all those things. Because when you do that, you strengthen the family, you strengthen the community, then you strengthen the nation. And that's really what this is about. If our community members can really look at that part of their families that come from those communities, because we are related.
It's an agreement between our 3 communities now, and it's open to other 2 communities in the lakes area of the Shuswap territory. And basically an agreement to work together on common issues of rights and title and our collective interest in the territory. And importantly, having our rights and title recognized and having an impact on the different developments that affect us all in terms of our ability to use the land, to hunt, to fish, and to be consulted and in some cases accommodated for our title.
The people of the Secwepemc-Arrow Lakes Division come from a large area of the Secwepem Nation. So we're part of the 17 or the original 30 Secwepem bands of the nation. But our specific territory is more than 1.5 million hectares.
Well, I think the significance is standing up the way that our ancestors worked together traditionally. You know, it's a little different format, but it's the same kind of concept. You know, we didn't have agreements. It was more around we'd meet for days on end, if you will, a week at a time. We'd celebrate, we would do business and do social events, do ceremony. And it's really important, this kind of agreement is about that, bringing our people, not just the councils, not quote just the elected leaders, get our elders involved, get our young people involved, get our spiritual people involved, and really rebuild ourselves from within. If we're going to build a strong nation and we strengthen the division, is going to make a stronger nation as a whole.
They have taken possession of all the Indian country and claimed it for their own, just the same as taking the house or ranch. Therefore, their life of every Indian tribe into their possession. They have never consulted us in any of these matters, nor made any agreement, nor signed any paper with us. They have stolen our lands and everything on them, and continue to use same for their own purposes.
You know, we're tired of the government always coming to us and saying that, who are you? Prove us you exist. You know, it's ridiculous. And I think for us is we're just going to stand up and say, this is the way we're going to operate. You have to come to us. And it's no longer a question of challenging their laws. We're going to stand up our laws. They'll have to challenge our laws based on our traditions and based on our values and based on our people. And for business, you know, if they do it properly, and we're not adverse to working with business. I think it's really important because the economics of this country, actually, this province, has been off the resources of our people. And I think all we're saying is we want a share of that, and we want to stand on our own. We don't want government handouts. We want to stand on our own beside them. I think that's really an important part of this.
It's all about micromanagement. It's a completely different model than what the province has and what Canada has and what the United States has. You have such an intimate knowledge of the landscape. The future will be that you're going to be a major player and you're going to be part of making those decisions rather than having people making decisions outside.
Aboriginal title, of course, is a communal right, and title itself is communal. So we have the political table, and then we also have the technical working group. We're working towards a co-management framework whereby the Lakes Division would take up their historical governance and management of their traditional territory. And then all these different chapters would work together and be built so that we could work with the current government in order to make sure that we have an equal and shared decision-making regarding any of the traditional territories. So we have, for example, the energy chapter, which deals with BC Hydro and the MICA 5-6. It's also currently dealing with the BC Utilities Commission and their 30-year inquiry that's going on right now. We have a forestry chapter. We also have a fisheries chapter, a heritage management chapter.
And to me, it's what it symbolizes. If you look at the pit house, there's sections of the pit house, like pie-shaped sections of the pit house, that ultimately make up the whole pit house. Well, each division is like one of those pie-shaped sections, but it takes each one of those divisions to hold up the whole structure. You can't have one without the other, you know.
No longer will our band stand alone when it comes to our traditional territories. With the sexqkeltkemc Lakes Division Agreement, we will now stand united, giving strength to our discussions with government, industry, and proponents. As the people of the headwaters paddled closer to Sicamous, the more strength they gained. Seeing the ancient pictographs on the lake gave spiritual strength to the journey and special meaning to the sexqkeltkemc Lakes Division Agreement.
One of the areas that is really unique here too is the recognition of the spiritual component by our member bands there, and the involvement of our spiritual people from the community and their support of this process, and their advice and ceremonies that are being brought to the table, that it is being done in a holistic way, and our leadership is becoming more familiar with traditional and spiritual practices.
If you don't master your own spirituality, then we're lost as a nation. And we'll see those outside influences continue to break us apart, and create disharmony and disunity amongst our people. If we, we need to have that harmony back, and the only way that we can do it is to get back into the ceremonies that was part of the covenant that we have with the Creator, that we'd have these institutions, our own Sweat Lodge, Vision Quest, the ceremonies, the language, the drumming. Because without those, we'll continue to be allow the negative influences to come in and break us apart all the time.
We have to be involved, when it comes to the waters, and how we've been impacted, and like with global warming, it's like he says, we're on the last hour kind of thing too.
It's going to be done by spirituality, not by politics, not by economics, So that's what our duties and our responsibilities are. So we're pretty excited about that.
To see what can happen as a result of joining a division, we only have to look to our neighbors of the Tk'emlúps Division. The First Nations involved in this division have been working together with industry and government and have seen success.
But ultimately it led to an agreement with the gold mine, in which we'll be attaining opportunities for revenues from the mine, as well as contracts and employment opportunities. And then we were able to get ourselves inserted in the mine permit, which is historic. It's never happened before. Native peoples inserted in a mine permit before it's issued, which puts us in a position of being environmental watchdogs during and even long after the mine is closed.
In our situation, it's our house territory. It's basically the same type of idea. The Kiksan don't have a central government. It's been decentralized down to the house groups, and the clans have a certain role in that model. Well, I see exactly the same thing happening here. You've got these different divisions, and from what I could see, there's 7 major divisions on this landscape in the interior of the province.
In 1909, ethnographer James A. Tate documented the 7 divisions of governance in the interior. Today, our chiefs have stood these ancient laws back up again through the sexqkeltkemc Lakes Division Agreement, so that we can once again be caretakers of our lands.
The other shift that I would explain to community members that's really critical and key is that it'll no longer oppress us by government laws, that will be standing up and taking our rightful place among the governing authority and legislation of our people. We will be entitled and rightful in the revenue sharing and the allocation and co-management and jurisdiction of our land and our resources. So no longer will our people be impoverished. We will have the full revenues to educate our people, the full revenues to re-engage with our language, the full revenues to meaningful participate in our own local economy as well as those national and international economies.
So long as what we consider justice is withheld from us, so long will dissatisfaction and unrest exist amongst us, and we will continue to struggle to better ourselves. For the accomplishment of this end, we and other Indian tribes of this country are now uniting, and we ask the help of yourself and government in this fight for our rights. We believe it is not the desire nor the policy of your government that these conditions should exist. We demand our land question be settled.
The sexqkeltkemc Lakes Division Agreement will stand up our ancient laws and make us strong again. We will once again be the Eustache sexqkeltkemc uluch, the caretakers and stewards of the Sexqkeltkemc traditional territory.
Like our chief said, we can work together to be great and good and build a country that is great and good, not only for ourselves, but for our children and their children's children as well.
We are working together as one mind, one heart, one body, one spirit. To stand each other up as relations,
to work as one.